Hello, everyone. This is Lana here, and right now we are having this crazy historical moment where we are going to be together with Demon Slayer wives. Come on! I am excited. We had some difficulties, technical difficulties for a few minutes. Our husbands on a phone with us kind of had to help us to set things up and stuff. Yeah, but I am so excited for tonight, you guys. I see your comments. Continue to comment, guys. If you want to drop in the chat where you're watching from, that'd be nice. And I'm gonna read some of that off before I bring my wonderful friends, Demon Slayers, into this chat. I want to read some comments, see where you guys are tuning in from, and maybe give a couple of moments for others to tune in. Anyways, I see some people from Minnesota, New York, Michigan, Washington, Tampa, Florida. Oh, I actually just came from Florida not too long ago. We went on a small vacation with my mom and my sisters. Florida is nice. And then Australia, guys, welcome, welcome. So right now, I'm going to bring in Julie Signorelli and Iblis Pagani. Can you all drop in the chat your clapping emojis for them? These beautiful women, friends of mine. I am so happy to have them. And we're just gonna start right off. Today, it's going to be a more generic stream. We want to get to know our precious Demon Slayer wives. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you like it, maybe in the future we will do some more more streams. So yeah, let's go with ladies, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. All right, so let's go. First of all, let's can you ladies introduce yourselves? Um, Say something about yourself and how did you meet Jesus? Let's go. Maybe start with Julie. She's in the middle.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you guys so much for having me. I love you and your husband and your church. We're big Hungry Gen fans over here. So we love you guys so much. But okay, so wait, what did you want me to know? Okay, what a little bit about myself.
Talk about yourself and yeah, tell us more about yourself and how did you meet Jesus?
Well, I had one of those really amazing stories where I was raised in church. So I was born, and then my mom, like whatever day I was born on, that following Sunday, I was in church. Like I was in there. So, I mean, I've been in church my whole life and, haven't necessarily served the Lord my whole life. But I was so thankful to be raised in the house of God in a spirit-filled church. And I got, I always thought my church was like a little weird, like growing up, I used to wish I was like, Lord, I wish I was Catholic, or I wish I was just like the 1 hour, the one and done, like, but I've come to grow to love my heritage and where I came from. And so I got serious about the things of God when I was a young teenager at church camp, and about maybe eighth grade, ninth grade, something like that, and have just been serving the Lord ever since. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I got 2 kids. They're super cute. I love my husband.
Come on.
I don't know.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Ibeliz, what about you?
Well, I myself, as well as Julie, was raised in church. So when you're raised in church, sometimes you're so used to, being in church that you don't really have an encounter with God. So you just go to church to go to church. And I think that's what was happening to me. I was in church because I was raised in church, but I still struggled with a lot of things. Like Julie, I desired to be able to go out and have some fun with my friends and party, which I never did because I wasn't allowed to, of course. But you struggle with that because you don't have that encounter with God. Until I had the encounter with God, that's when I was able to say, wow, okay. So I was able to appreciate that I was raised in church, and I was able to appreciate the things that God had given to me. Um, I am also a mother of two boys. Julie has two girls, and I have the two boys. But yeah, and I also love my husband. We've been married for, oh my goodness, like 25 years,
Wow,
maybe
come on.
I think 25 or 26. I lost count already. It's been so long. But yeah.
Nice. All right. All right. So you both kind of grew up at in a Christian home. Well, for me as well, I grew up in Christian home. I'm a PK, pastor's kid. I grew up in well, I was born in former Soviet Union where Christianity was persecuted, and so I grew up kind of like being a pastor's kid, but not really knowing the Lord. So I had a really difficult time up until I actually moved to the United States. That's when I actually got saved, which was a long time ago now, almost 18 years ago. Praise God, He saved me. But I was a kind of a very angry, rebellious teenager when I was growing up, done some shady things as a PK, But then the Lord, He touched me and He really poured His love on me, and He showed Himself real to me, and I started to follow Jesus since I moved to the United States. I was 19 years of age, and yeah, I've been following Jesus ever since. There's my testimony online out there. I'm sure some people already heard it. I'm not gonna go into it. But okay, next question is, how did you meet your spouse? Julie.
Okay, all right, I'll go first. Mike and I, we have different stories about how we met because we actually, our paths crossed a couple of different times. And so I think he tells the more romantic version. But the quick answer is we had a mutual friend. A family member of mine grew up with his best friend, and we connected like, I don't know, we had a boat, we connected there. And so we met, and then we hung out a couple of different times, and then it kind of evolved from there. But we met through a mutual friend, a mutual church friend. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad he showed up at that boat. That was it. I was done.
How old were you?
I think I was 19. Yeah, I was 19 when we met. And so I'm 39 now. So it's 20 years. It's like we've been together almost longer than we haven't been at this point. So,
Wow. Wow. That's
yeah,
awesome. Julie, how long have you guys been married?
we are going to celebrate 17 years in January. I
Wow.
cannot, it went by so fast. I don't know if Mama Pagani feels like that, but I just feel like overnight it like went so quickly. 17
Wow.
years. We probably 10 really good ones.
Maybe we'll get to that one.
Yeah, we've had a good decade of crazy, but I mean, half of it's been great.
I like the realness. All right, that's awesome. Thanks, Julie. Ivelisse, how did you meet Alexandra Pagani?
We actually met at a radio station, believe it or not.
Wow.
So he's been in the airwaves for a very long time. We He would go to preach. He was in a group of ministers that preached, of young ministers that preached. And he showed up one day because my parents actually worked there as well. And when I first saw him, I was like, I don't know about him. And my mom introduced him, and she was the one that actually got us together, believe it or not. She told him, "Oh, I want you to pray for my daughter. She needs prayer." And after that, we just hit it off, and we went on a date, and yeah. And it's been a long time. I mean, after that, we were inseparable. We're together almost all the time. But yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change
And
anything.
how old were you guys when you met?
Oh my goodness, I don't even remember. We're so old now that I
No,
don't
you're
remember.
not.
I think I want to say early 20s, early 20s, maybe 23, I want to say, more or less. I don't remember anymore. When you get old, forget it. It seems like yesterday, like Julie
How
said.
old were you when you guys got married?
I I think we got married really. That's another story on its own. We got married, which I don't recommend to everyone, but we got married 3 months later. We met and
Wow,
we got
okay.
married 3 months later, and um, that doesn't work for everyone. So don't follow what we did, because we don't recommend that to everyone. But it did work for us. It did
Yep.
work for us.
If you know it, right? That's awesome. For me and Vlad, we met on Facebook. I know that's kind of funny. We met on Facebook. I added him as a friend on Facebook, and I was from a different city. He was from here, but he used to come and preach in my old church where I got saved in Vancouver, Washington. So I added him as a friend on Facebook, and then turns out he kind of looked through my photos. He liked me, and then he realized I was from the church he was going to, and he was friends with my youth pastor at that time. And so next time he came, he was looking for me, and eventually we start talking online, and then we met in the church. And then we actually dated for 4 months, and then we were engaged for 5 months, and then we got married. So it's not we haven't dated for a long time, just like you guys with Alexandra Pagani. And then we were both 24 when we got married. I am older than Vlad by almost a year, and so we we got that perfect time of the year when we were both at the same age. I was like, okay, we're gonna have to find that time, and we both got married when we were 24. So that's it. All right, let's go to the next question. How did you receive your calling for ministry? Was it because of your husband, or how did it happen for you? Julie, let's go.
I have this joke where I'm like, I feel like I was always a pastor my whole life. Like I remember like having these weird things where like my friends' parents from school would like confide in me about things in their life, like, and I was not mature at all. I don't know why. Maybe I just had that quality, like a good listener or something. I don't know, but I was laughing because I kept going back in my mind, and I was like, I feel like I've been doing this forever, like unofficially. Um, but ministry was really in our DNA, like family. My dad was not a minister. Him and my mom were just very committed to our local church. And so we just were really committed people. My sister ended up marrying a pastor, and I remember thinking like, man, that's got to be hard. And then sure enough, fast forward, I marry a pastor. And so I feel like it was just kind of like death to be. Um, but I was very drawn to ministry. There used to be like a missions organization back in the day called it was like my dream to like go there and do missions, kind of like a YWAM type thing, I guess, back then. And so I always wanted to do something ministry related. I remember looking into like the Peace Corps and like all these like weird things, like wanting to make a difference, really didn't know how. And then Mike and I just kind of like found our way over time and I don't know, I feel like our calling, it kind of found us in a way. Like we just, no matter how hard we tried to do something else, we always ended right back up into ministry. And us growing up, we didn't see like full-time ministers a lot. That was like pretty rare. So to even think that we would do this not only with our life, but like as our full-time life, still blows my mind. I'm still grateful every day because that was just never anything we tried to do. So I feel like it kind of evolved over time, but Mike had like a distinct call into the ministry. For me, it was more like I always felt very drawn to it. I just assumed I would do something in the corporate like space and then serve my time in my local church.
Hmm.
So that part kind of found me, because that was kind of how I always envisioned it.
Right. Julie, now you are co-pastoring together with Mike. Um, do you know, I know you are called to be a pastor as well, but how how did you know your specific, when did you find out like your specific calling?
Yeah, that's so weird. So when we were first married, we were you actually they had asked us to be youth pastors before we were like we were like almost married. We were engaged, and um I remember thinking like this is all I ever want to do. Like being a youth pastor. By the way, for all the youth pastors out there watching, you are awesome. Thank you. You are a blessing. You're the funnest people on the planet. If I could do anything for the rest of my life, it would be youth ministry because it's like the best, funnest like place to love Jesus and walk out your calling. So if you're discouraged, be encouraged.
Yep.
Keep going. It's the best. It's the sweet spot of the church. I'm telling you,
Yep.
it's awesome. Um, and so I feel like for us, it was doing that kind of made us see what was possible, like ministering together. And so I don't know, I feel like we're still figuring it out, like as we get older in every season. But ministering together was something that really just came over time and seeing where our strengths were. So mine was more in administration and his was more like demonstration, um, ministry gifting. So it
Hmm.
kind of together. God is so intentional, because if there were two of us trying to do it, it would be wild.
Come on.
Crazy.
That's awesome. Thank you, Julie. Ivelisse, what about you? How did you receive your calling for ministry? Was it because of your husband, or were you in a ministry prior to getting married?
I like you, I was a PK. So my parents were pastors, and it was like I was pastoring with them because I try to help them as much as I could. Um, and I always led worship. I would always lead worship for them, and so they put me in charge of worship. So it was kind of like a worship pastor, but in the Hispanic community, they don't really have worship pastors per se. They just have worship leaders. Um, so at first, because I was PK and I saw how much my parents struggled, you know, and struggled in the sense of dealing with people. At first, I was like, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know where I'm gonna go and where I fit into this. Um, but when I met my husband, that's when it was made clear to me, and the Lord made it clear to me that we were going to be leading the church, because my dad started talking about, oh, I'm going to be handing it down to him. And by default, of course, I fell into that. And I would say that it was through him, right? But I will say this, the deliverance ministry portion of it, as a child, there would be manifestations, and every time there would be manifestations, it happened to be next to me. And I would say, Lord, why? Why is this always happening? Why they always have to manifest next to me? And mind you, I was the drummer of the church because I play drums. So
Wow.
Every time they would manifest next to the drums. And I was like, oh Lord, I need to get out of here. Because as a child, you get nervous. And I'm like, Lord Jesus, why is this all happening? Why do they always manifest there? And now in life, coming full circle, I'm like, okay, Lord, this is why, because you were getting us ready to be able to cast out demons.
Yes.
And at the moment, being a child, I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But as I started growing up and I started seeing, how people were getting set free and how their lives would change, I was like, Lord, okay, so you were preparing me as a child for this. And I understood where the Lord was leading us. So when we were introduced to the ministry of deliverance, it wasn't as difficult for me to receive it, because then there I was able to understand why all these manifestations as I
Hmm.
was growing up were happening.
Right.
So once we were introduced to the ministry of deliverance, I was able to walk in and just say, "Okay, Lord, let's do this."
Wonderful. Wow. Come on. Okay, for me, how did I receive my calling for ministry? Was it because of Vlad or not? Now, I come from a pastoral family, and when I was still a heathen, the weirdest thing, I always have the feeling that I will marry a pastor. Even back in Russia, I don't know why. I had this weird feeling that even though like I was even like dating some other guys, but I still had a feeling that I will marry a pastor. And then fast forward to the time when I got saved. There was one specific service that I remember. They gave a call for those who feel like God is calling them into the ministry. Now, at that moment, I did not necessarily realize what I was doing, but my feet dragged me to the front, and my heart was like, I felt like, God, if that's what it means, and I will be able to be in your house for the rest of my life, because I fell in love with the church, with Jesus. I loved church so much. And I went to the front, and I was just like a person who just got born again recently, and I was so on fire for Jesus. And I went to the front, and I'm like, Lord, I want to be in your house forever. And then they prayed for us. And since that time on, I started to be drawn to ministry, and eventually I married a youth pastor, Vlad, at that time. And I moved to Tri-Cities, where he was a youth pastor. And that's how I kind of gradually as well went into the ministry. Now, I don't necessarily feel like I know what's my specific calling per se. I feel like I like how Julie also presented it, kind of like you grow into it gradually, kind of step by step. God is leading you, and I feel like that picture becomes more and more clearer with each step, with each year for me. Yeah, but many times I feel like I am not qualified. I don't know this, I don't know that. I can be a speaker, I can sing, I can do all of these things, and but the Lord is good, and I feel like I am right where he wants me to be in the ministry, pastoring the church with Vlad, and doing that together alongside with him, helping him, and casting out demons and all of that without any fear. And yeah, that's kind of my path. I feel like I want to do a separate stream about uh, women casting out demons. With all of that, maybe that would be kind of cool. In the future we can do something like that, so we can go into the detail of your guys' first deliverance, and have you gone through deliverance yourself, and do you how often do you cast out demons, and all of these things about that. I think we should do a separate stream if that's gonna happen. We'll see, but let's go to the next question.
I wanted to share with you something that you said, that
Yeah.
you felt, that you feel I'm not a speaker, and I've gone through that myself where I'm like, I I guess it's because I don't know about you, but I'll compare myself to my husband, and he's very and I'm very calm. So for me, I think that's where the struggle is. Even when I teach, I'm very calm. And at first, it was difficult for me because I would say, um, okay, people are going to be comparing me to him, and they're going to want me to match his energy. And I can't match his energy, even if I try. I mean, I'll have all the energy in the inside. So in the inside, I'm doing cartwheels and I'm like, yes. But in the outside, I'm not as hype as he is, and I'm not as. So I think that was something that I struggled with as well, until I came to understand that I'm me. I'm never going to be him. I'm never going to have that energy that he has. And maybe I do have more energy in me, just not the energy that he has. And once I
Mm-hmm.
was able to understand that, I was able to continue to walk forward and do what God called me to do, or the things that God is calling me to do, because it was very difficult for me. It
Right.
really was.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I feel like as a woman in ministry, there is this extra pressure sometimes that we go through with a lot of things, especially having our husbands as these, mighty men of God. Not that we're not, but you know how it is. Um, okay, so next question will actually lead into what is your ministry alongside of your husband look like? How does it look like? Julie, what do you do? How do you guys do ministry together?
Well, it's funny because I feel like it's always evolving, and I feel like it kind of echoes what you guys were just talking about. Um, I used to feel the same way, like, oh my gosh, I'm not him. So when I get up to speak, it's different, it's a different, I have a feminine, I'm very feminine in the way I communicate. Um, I'm not, this Catherine Coleman type, or
Yep.
maybe a teacher, or I do preach, and I do have passionate times and things like that, and people.
Julie, I heard you speak, okay? You
Okay,
are amazing.
all right, but we're comparing to
Right.
who is incredibly, in fact, um one of my favorite stops during our revival tour was Apostle Pagani and my husband ministering together in Miami. I mean, me and Mama Pagani, we were just laughing. We're like, this is wild. Like, it's so, their energy, like, it was like they met their match, It was like that of ministry. It was so great. And it's like neither one tired and it was just so funny the way that. So Mike and I, like, I'm not that, I'm not Apostle Pagani, and I can't like she said, I can't match his energy. There's no way. But what I've learned, and why we even were studying it this week, about how the gifts in the body work together to build the church, just like the gifts in a family work together to build the body of Christ. And so, my gifts are different. I am thinking about, and it's funny. This is, I'll probably get hate, but whatever. You guys, I need you to be mature tonight, okay? Like, I always say, like, deliverance ministry is messy. It stresses me out. I'm like a systems person. I am a safety person. And so when people start vomiting and passing out, I mean, my operations brain wants to explode. I'm like, we need Clorox. Like, I'm like, make sure everybody's sanitized. And you, when it comes to deliverance ministry, you literally have to just let it all go and just say, Lord, you're in control. And so I've learned ministering with Mike is I've had to relinquish control and he really brings out the best in me. He's my biggest cheerleader. When I don't know what my identity is, he's like, "Girl, I'll give you an identity. Like you're going to run in this and figure it out later." And he's always like asking like, "What's in your heart?" So for me, what I do, it's always changing. Right now I'm in doing the mercy part of our church. So, like to fed people. We're trying to evolve into disaster relief and do just different things to be the hands and feet of Jesus. But when it comes to the weekly mission, whatever he needs, like I am his ride or die. I'm right there. I'm like, oh, you need an admin, boo? I got you. Like, oh, you needed me to preach? Okay, I got you. Like, and so the needs are always changing. And sometimes, it's just like, I just got to be mom. And there are seasons where I'm just mom and I'm a wife and I'm taking notes on the front row, and cheering him on. So
Right. Julie, can I ask you, I know you mentioned one time to me that you have a strong personality. You are a leader as well. Mike, so is Mike. How do you manage, or how did you manage that with Mike together? Did you have to kind of give up that type A position to submit to Mike at one point of your life? Can you share a little bit? I know you have really nice.
I'll get into the nitty gritty for you. We duked it out. And so him and I, our personalities are polar opposite. We did this like Christian like inventory where you look at like how God put you together, kind of goes through your personality. It's not Enneagram, it's none of that. It's more biblical based. Anyways, so our personality are as opposite as it gets, except for control. And in control, we are the same. So you can imagine the power struggle leading a church, what that looked like. And so there was a season when we were co-pastors. And what happened was, as I felt that tension seeping in, and I also was watching all these other marriages struggle for, like, identity, what a co-pastor is. Now, I'm not saying this to like minimize other people's time. I'm just saying for me, I was like, I actually laid my co-pastor title down. I submitted that, and I'm just a pastor on our team now, because that, like what you were saying, that power struggle, I was like, it's not taking me down. I'm like, I ain't going down like Jezebel. Like, I'm not doing that, but I had to duke it out with him, with myself, and like we had to find our rhythm. And I know submission is like, among women, it's such a dirty word, but I've learned submitting in my church, I actually have less stress. I have less pressure. He took all that pressure off of me, and now I just get to be me, and I get to come in and out. Some seasons, and some seasons I'm more in the background, and I'm good with both of those things.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Julie. I know that I know quite a few couples with that they both have very powerful personalities, and then there is this tension that arises. Okay, I need exact the same amount of whatever that is, honor or attention or this and this and that. But I do believe that as a wife, if you are submitted to the Word of God, we ought to submit to our husbands and give that place to them according to the Word of God. And I feel like when we do that, and just like you did it, Julie, God blesses that order, and God will give us peace. And when I love, like when I'm in my place, everything is smooth, everything is great. And I love what you shared. Thank you, Julie, so much. Ibeliz, what about you? What does your ministry alongside of your husband look like?
I could be, I think I was just as Pastor Julie was. At first it was really difficult for me, because for me it was, I'm a woman, hear me roar. I can do this. If whatever he can do, I can do. And at first there was a big struggle with me and him, if we would both have different opinions, for me it was a big deal. I would say, but no, it's this way. And I learned that when also I learned to submit and just let him uh lead, right? Let him lead me. Things worked out and things were so much smoother. And I took, like she said as well, all the stress was taken off of me. And right now, what we're doing is I pastor the church and he's the apostle of the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
he's I take care of the day-to-day activities in the church and he leads the church, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I once I learn how to and for lack of a better word, because I don't want to say that, stay in my place, right? And receive, because sometimes it's hard from us to receive from our spouses, right? And when I was able to receive from my husband, I saw things change and I saw the Lord bring change into our church, into our relationship. Not only us, but it trickled down into all the married couples in the church, and they were all able to function as well. So, that's the way we were able to pastor together and lead together, it, for lack of a better word.
Thank you. I really appreciate you ladies sharing this, with strong personalities and what kind of frictions there could be and how you ladies resolved it. And it's such an example to many, many leaders out there. And for me, it's a little different. I have a completely different personality. Me and Vlad, we're completely polar opposites, except of the fact that we're both very introverted people. He's probably more introverted, but anyways, for me, I kind of have had always like love for the church, being in church, but when it comes to like doing something, um it always came a little bit like I had to be pushed almost like, and I was never a person who was trying to like I want to speak or I want to do this, and not in a bad way necessarily. For me, the Lord has challenged me in the opposite way. And I promised to Him, okay, I'm going to be a little bit more obedient and not rebellious when I need to do things, when I need to maybe speak a little bit, or when I need to do some of the pastoral duties. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm going to do it, fine. I kind of have to humble myself in that way in stepping into this pastoral role. If that would be for me, if it would be for me, I wouldn't want to probably do anything. I would just dig myself somewhere in the hole or go out in the nature and just like be there alone with God. That's how it is for me. And but the Lord has been challenging me, especially for the past few years, to kind of come out of my bubble, come out of my, oh, it's just me, I'm comfortable, don't touch me. I'm just good sitting right here by my husband. Let him do all the work. He can do it. He's fine. I'm comfortable. Don't touch me. But I had to humble myself and kind of step up a little bit, step out of my comfort zone in quite a few things. And it's a nerve wreck. And every time I do that, I'm like sweating, or I'm like, Lord, why me? I don't want to do it. Why do I have to? Like all of these things that I have to battle with. But then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Since you placed me in this position, I'm where you want me to be, and nobody else is in my shoes or in my position. I gotta do what I gotta do. And so that's kind of a my, and I, like I mentioned, I pastor a church with Vlad, alongside with Vlad. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. All right.
For the record, I love hearing you speak, and it's so funny because we're probably all three very similar in that way. And I'm sure Alyssa obviously couldn't be here because she was on vacation, but she's like the same way. Like we would all just kind of like retreat back. But I just want to say every time you ladies speak, I always pull so much wisdom off. So thank you for pushing yourself because people they want to hear what you have to I want to hear what you guys have to say. So thank you for stepping out and
Thank you,
making
Julie.
Glad force you to do it because I love it. And
Yes,
thank you.
even this YouTube thing, I mean, I wanted to do it myself, but I wouldn't if Vlad didn't like give me that push and he's like, "No, you got to do it." I'm like, "Oh, fine. I guess I will do it." Even though in my heart I knew I have to do it. I felt like I need to start it, and but I'm such a like I don't know what's it called, the animal like they say, it's a bad name, sloth.
I feel
Very slow, but and yeah, Vlad kind of like had to give me that little encouragement to do it, and here we are. I'm trying my best, but thank you,
You're
Julie,
doing
and
great. You're doing a great job because
thank
I
you.
I don't think I tried it once because we would get on a lot before Facebook would come on, before Facebook and before YouTube. My husband and I would get on, and one day he wanted me to go on alone, and I could not stay more than 15 minutes because I didn't know what else to say. I would say, okay, so what do we say now? And for him, it was so easy and he would flow. He would
Right.
just flow and flow. And I was like, where does he get all these things to say? And I run out of things 5 minutes into it. So I understand you.
Yep, yep. But you know what? Sometimes it's better to say shorter, shorter speech than a long, long, long one. I'm not saying that um, you're whatever. Anyways, yes. About Alyssa, she was supposed to be with us, but she couldn't because they're out of town. And anyways, I think she's kind of like that too. She does not want to be in front of the camera. She doesn't want to speak and all of that. It comes very stressful to do that. But she's greatly missed, and I think she might be watching us right now. And yes, we love you, girl. Hopefully, next time you can make it.
yeah.
Anyways, let's go to the next question. Ladies, how do you balance family and ministry?
Whew.
Julie,
That's
let's go.
You know what? Actually, this is a question Michael and I get this all the time. I'm sure you guys do because on top of having young kids, well, I have a teenager and we have a 16-year-old and a 9-year-old. So we have kids in like two different worlds. They're both in activities. We homeschool them. We have a church. We travel for ministry. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of plates spinning. And so we get this question all the time. And one of my friends, I don't know if you guys know Jessie Green, but she had posted something the other day and she had said, whatever their family does, they're all in. And so I think for me, I don't compartmentalize ministry. I know some families do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've heard of a pastor we know, they have like a rule where they don't talk about stuff like ministry stuff in the house. That would be us because we love what we're all in on what we do. And so what I've taught my kids is listen, we have one life. And ministry is not something we do between 9 and 5 and Sunday. Ministry is our whole life. We don't do these things because we're pastors. We do these things because we're Christians. And even if we weren't pastors, many of these things, casting out demons, praying for people, ministering to people, serving our community, going to church at all the services. We would do those anyways. Like we don't have to be pastors to do those things. We would do that because we love the Lord and we want to be fervent, like we want to be passionate about his house. And so I loved what she said. She said, whatever we do, we're all in. So if we're spending time as a family, we're all in as a family. If we're doing revival, we are all in on revival. If we're at ministering at a church, we're all in. And even today, my kids were at church and I had to leave early because I had committed here. And my little one started to cry and she's like, I want to stay, mommy. And I was like, oh, my heart. I was like, you want to stay? Yay. So it's just like, I don't know, for us, I don't know that I have balance. It's just whatever we're doing it unto the Lord. Like if it's a date, we're all in on the date. If it's you know, dinner with family, like we're all in there. And I just loved that term. I was like, Jesse Green, I'm stealing that. That's so good.
That's so awesome. Come on. I love what you mentioned that uh, we don't compartmentalize. We do it together. We serve the Lord together with the family. I love that. Love that. Ibeliz, what about you and your family? How do you balance your ministry? I know you both ladies are so busy, and your husbands, they oversee like churches, and you guys, and they travel a lot. You travel a lot, and you have children. And how do you manage? How do you balance all of that?
Think
Um, I think
on
for
you.
many years when our kids were younger, I would go. Of course, my dog decided to bark now that I'm that I'm
That's fine.
um for many years I would pick and choose where I would go because I didn't want my children to feel like I was picking the church over them, even though we are a ministry family and we do ministry together. That's all we do. When we first opened up our church, we bought our children a keyboard, and so we push them to learn to play instruments so that they can be involved. Our oldest can play every instrument. Our youngest can play most of the instruments, and he also does media. So we're a ministry family. What we didn't want them to do was to grow around negative religion. So we wouldn't speak to them anything that was negative that would bother them, because as our children, whatever is said hurts them as well, right? And we didn't want them to have a bad taste of church. So our children are all into ministry, and when we do it together most of the time now. If we travel, if they're not working, they come with us. They'll take off from their jobs to go. So we do it all together. We do it all together, just as Pastor Julie does. And they love it. They love it. And it's great because I've seen so many PKs, as we are PKs ourselves, that want nothing to do with the church because they grew up listening to negative things being commented about their parents, so it affected them. And we wanted to make sure that it would never affect our children. And thank the Lord, they're all in, and we do it together.
Wow,
Amen.
that is so wonderful. Come on, I love that. I love, and me and Vlad, we don't have children yet, and I definitely look up to you, ladies, and I will probably when we have kids with Vlad, I'm gonna be texting you, hey, how do you do this? What do you do this? So yeah, right now we don't have much to balance out with no kids, but we have marriage, which is also very important to have a healthy marriage doing ministry. And as you ladies said that, and I love it, Vlad and I, we don't separate our personal life from our from the rest of the serving the Lord. We do it together, and we're all in. And not that we 24/7 doing ministry or talking about ministry. We don't like to compartmentalize, right? We just kind of like we do it all together. We serve the Lord with our marriage. Our marriage is dedicated to the Lord, and yeah, come on. That is awesome. Okay, so I know, ladies, you have kids and things to do, and Julie, it's probably so late. And oh, you guys are both from New York. Okay, I'm not gonna hold you any longer. Let's go with the last question, and I promise I will let you go. Thank you so much for your precious time, and I know you have so much to do and you need rest as well. So, last question. What do you say to people who say that women shouldn't preach or cast out demons in the church? I know that's a deep one going.
Well, my husband, he always says, he's like, and I'm sure we didn't like come up with this, probably somebody else did, but like if you're choking and a woman's there to save you, are you going to tell her no? No, you're going to receive whatever help is coming to you. And my husband has probably, he's had to go to bat for a lot of things, as you guys know, deliverance ministry, speaking in tongues, whatever. But one of the things that he's went pretty hard in the paint is sticking up for women in ministry. His mom is one of the most powerful preachers that I know. And I think he watched her get shut down many times and never truly, I mean, she did have people who saw that gifting in her and empowered her in different seasons, but I always tried to be the kind of pastor that would empower women who have powerful anointings on their life, because there are pastors who are very jealous of women who understand the glory and power of God. And I love that he's not intimidated by that. And so it's funny because most of the people on our platform some Sundays are women, and it's not intentionally. It's just we have a lot of gifted and incredible, amazing women. We have amazing men as well. It's just sometimes the way the schedule works and the way people are available, it'll feel that way. And he sticks up every single. There's always a hater in the
Yep.
comments, whatever. And he just goes to bat for them. And I love that. He's not intimidated by it. If he's like, go ahead, girl, out preach me, like go for it, do it. None of us can, but we try. And he just empowers us. I always tell people in our church, like when we were talking about submission, I'm like, he's easy to submit to because I don't have a limit in my church. I don't have a limit in my marriage. Like, as far as I can dream, he is pushing me. Like, if he wished I did more, I'm like, no, it's too much. I'm tired. I gotta go to bed. But he would literally have me streaming, preaching, travel, like whatever. I'm not even doing all that. But he really uplifts women. And I would say to the people who are against it, we're never probably going to change your mind, and that's okay. So get out of our comments, like we don't care. We're submitted to the right pastors who see that.
Yep.
But I always tell our church, I'm like, listen, we empower women to lead, but we are a church that believes in male headship. And I say that every time I preach. I am not off doing my own thing, making executive decisions, running our church. I don't wear the pants in our church. My husband wears the pants, the suit coat, the tie, all of it. He's the man. But he's not intimidated to let women lead. And so for us, it's at our church, it's so easy. It's so, I don't know. It's a joy to preach in our house, and I feel protected. I feel covered. And we had a women's retreat a few weeks ago, and we had two male pastors that just came and they sat outside and they're like, we're here if you need us. And they never ever, they just were available. And it was such a sweet way of supporting us as women. Like, we knew we had men there if we needed them, but we didn't need them, praise God. But they were there, and we were so blessed and honored to have them. So it's been I don't know, it's just how we do at our church. But if you're a hater, like, I would say, get off this stream. I don't know what to tell you. You won't like us no matter what we say. So
That's true. That's true. Haters gonna hate. I love that. I love that. I feel like if you are a woman and you walk in submission to your husband, and in submission, and your husband is not insecure man, I think
Right.
it's such a beautiful combo. And two can do so much damage to the kingdom of the devil and
Yes.
so much good for God. If we walk in agreement, serve together, walk in submission, a husband walks in submission to Christ, and a wife walks in submission to her husband, and they can both do so much good for the kingdom of God. I absolutely love that. Yeah. Ibeliz, what about you? What do you say to people who say women shouldn't preach or cast out demons or open their mouth?
You know what? With that, I haven't really dealt with it a lot because our covering, um, they don't come against women when it comes to that. So I haven't really dealt with it like that. I will tell you this much though, when it comes to deliverance, if you want to be set free, it shouldn't matter to you who's helping you get set free,
I love
as
that.
long as you're set free, right? When you're gonna, like my husband says, when you want to get out of jail, it doesn't matter who opens the door for you, how you're dressed, how you're looking. You just want somebody to open that door for you so that you can get out. The same way is with deliverance. It shouldn't matter to you who is helping you get set free, as long as they're helping you get set free. Why should, whether it's a female or a male, why should it matter to you if the thing that should matter is that you're being set free from whatever it is that has you bounded, right? So yeah.
I love it.
But I agree
Absolutely.
100% with everything that you both have said. um yeah.
I love that. And I love that both of you mentioned that. And if you are in trouble and you really, really need help and rescue, you will not be so picky choosing who is throwing you a life jacket if you're sinking. I think if it's a woman or a man or a teenager, the age, it does not matter. And as long as we are walking in submission before the Lord, we care for people, we love people, and we're willing to throw that life jacket to someone who's actually sinking. I love that. Come on, ladies, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you and I love you. And thank you for for your time, first of all. And I know there's quite a few things that we had to figure out. Both of your husbands are away right now, and we were just like before the stream sweating. But
Like, oh,
thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. And I would love to do another stream specifically about deliverance and demons. Hopefully, we can do that later on. And thank you so much, ladies.
we love you so much. You guys are such an inspiration, and I just appreciate you both so much.
I love you guys. Thank you so much. I had a great time and hope to be able to do this again soon.
Yes. Thank you.